So what is the thing that has been setting you off in the last 24 hours?
Why do you assume that there is something? I mean, maybe it's been a really relaxing day and everything's been fine. Perhaps that's been my last 24 hours.
Somehow I doubt that, Stu.
Honestly, the thing that's been pissing me off more than anything is the basically male boxer beating the crap out of women in the ring. That's been kind of the thing that's been bothering me. I kind of think that that's weird.
A little bit.
I think the idea of domestic violence for entertainment is kind of a strange thing. And I've been following the story relatively closely. And now the left is trying to say, actually, she's intersex or something like that. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't have to be a statement about trans rights in America to be a problem. The problem is a giant person with all sorts of male characteristics and strength beyond almost any woman is punching women in the face. And I just, and by the way, a person who's already failed a gender test in a major international competition. So that's enough for me to be a little upset.
Yeah. I know you're a betting man. Let's just go with it. How long before we see a non-binary person or a person that has switched genders beat a woman to death and the crowds cheer? How long? When do we get that special?
Not long. I mean, there was a story just the other day, it was 2 days ago, a 17-year-old girl was playing volleyball against a trans person, and she's now, I think, paralyzed. Which is...
but she didn't die.
She's paralyzed with brain damage after a transgender opponent who cackled with delight after knocking her to the ground. So that's our world.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, doesn't count. Who feels bad for the athlete from Italy that got punched in the face?
I feel really bad for her. And it's a weird distinction in that I feel bad for her and her rise through her sporting life and all the work she's put in and how this was her dream and it's been ruined by nonsense. Though I feel worse for her for being punched in the face by a man. That's actually the one I think is worse than even the sporting event stuff. So I'm all with you on the sporting event stuff. I think that's really bad. But when we get to combat sports, it becomes a whole nother level of, I would argue, borderline criminality. I without knowing all the facts, I can't, I guess, put them immediately in prison. But I think anyone who sanctions this sort of nonsense should be considered for a small home inside a cell.
So I agree with all of that stuff, but I a little bit of me says, Miss Italian police officer, I did feel really bad for you, and then you decided to walk off and go,
but who am I to judge? Honestly, who am I to judge? I don't know. I just didn't want to be hit in the face by him anymore.
Who are you to judge? I don't know. An individual, a person, a woman. If you don't stand up against this, it's never going to change. You can't let somebody else carry the water for you. You had a global stage. Everybody saw you. Everybody was with you. And then you go,
but I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just a bigot. Maybe I'm just a hate monger. I don't think so, but it could be.
No, I'm a woman. When are we going to protect women? When are we going to protect girls in sports? When? The whole world is... You know what? You know what this is? This is the world being unburdened by those things that have been. You know what that means? Let me translate bullcrap to English. This is what that means. Forget everything you thought was true because we're changing everything tonight. That's what that means, to be unburdened by those things that were. Yeah. No, thank you. I know how to define a woman. Genetics, kind of plays a role in life. I hate to bring this up, but science plays a role. And you can't pass as a biological female. You don't play.
But no, wait, but we're unburdening ourselves from things like that icky science. Only in this category, however. Because science disagrees with us, so, okay, well, it also does in global warming and a whole bunch of other stuff, but shh, quiet, you hate monger.
Stand up. Stand up. Title IX is going in. Some states are letting your kids go to school in the next few weeks, and they're going to be kicked in the face by some female soccer player that's a dude. Say it. Say it. You know, it all stops having power when you're not afraid anymore. What do you have to lose? What do you have to lose?
I could lose my job.
You want to lose your soul?
Well, I got to take care of my kids.
Really? And how are they going to take care of them when we've unburdened ourselves with what has been? When they don't know history, when they don't know math, they don't know how to read or write. How are they going to survive? Dad, Mom, they're not going to. If you don't stand up for them right now, they ain't going to.
You know, God, it's funny you say that. I've heard Kamala Harris say that so many times, and basically I've only considered it as something to mock and just the fact that she's got nothing to say and she's just repeating herself. But as you point that out, I mean, isn't that essentially exactly what Michelle Obama said all those years ago? It's the same
ding,
phrase.
Ding, ding, ding. Yes.
Right? Like it's, you know, hey, we got to erase our history. We have to erase our traditions. We have to move to a new time.
We have to unburden ourselves from the things that were. That's exactly what she was saying.
Unburdened by what has been.
This is why you cannot just make Kamala Harris into a joke. She means those things. And you don't see it that way because you're like, oh, look at the poetry lady's back.
I mean, it is also fun to laugh at. I'm not going to dismiss that part of it. But you're right, though. It's like it's an interesting thing. If you if you're unburdened by what has been, such as knowledge, traditions, things that have actually worked for civilizations, man, you can make all sorts of crazy decisions. The Constitution, you're not burdened by it anymore. Really, I mean, I had never thought of it. I never thought about what she was actually saying. I was just laughing at her for saying seemingly nothing. But there's a lot of meaning behind that.
Important.
Now, I need your permission to do this, Stu, because I never, ever do this. May I bring this to the Nazis?
You know, you usually are so hesitant to bring up any sort of tie to Nazi Germany that I feel in this case it must be okay because you just are so normally not going down that road.
Right.
You're so normally unburdened by the Nazis and what they have been.
Right.
And,
what was it that the Nazi scientists were trying to do?
Well,
they were trying to create super people, right? They wanted to change, don't it make my brown eyes blue? Well, injecting eyes with ink, that makes your brown eyes blue until you die. So what they did is they unburdened themselves of those things that had been, like, hey, let's treat every child as sacred. Hey, let's have empathy for people who are unlike us. Let's unburden ourselves from this. Let's just kill the people who have handicaps. Okay? That was new scientific thinking. And when you unburdened yourself from all the things that you had learned, all of the things that the Lord had taught you forever, what makes Judeo-Christians different than any other religion in the world? What is their main ethic? Their main ethic is love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor. So let's unburden ourselves from God. Let's unburden ourselves from the neighbor if they're different than us. But dig me, I love myself. You can't unburden yourself from the other two. They are changing history in real time. They are changing our ethics in real time because they've said overnight, how many times in the last 15 years did you wake up and there was like a new word you had to learn? You're like, what the hell is it? What does that mean? I don't even know what that means. And like everybody was using it. It was almost like, oh, Kamala Harris, she's the worst. She can't get anybody. Her staff hates her. She's the greatest woman in the world. We just saw it again. They just change overnight, like there's some secret telegraph going off someplace. Okay, starting tomorrow, just to really freak Americans out, we're just going to start calling Kamala a hero and a genius. Americans won't know what hit them. They'll think they woke up in a different world, a parallel universe where, like, didn't yesterday everybody think she was an idiot? They're never going to figure it out. It's so funny. Stand up for what you know is true. You will not save your children if you cower now. It's only going to get harder. To the police officer from Italy, I feel bad for you. I feel bad because you probably worked your whole entire life to get to that moment. And then some dude comes in and punches you in the face. Why are you throwing everything you have done in the past away? Why are you throwing everything you know to be true away? Stand up for yourself. If you don't stand up for yourself, who are you expecting to do it for you?
Glenn, let me ask you real quick while we're on this topic, because I'm interested in your coverage here. I want to do an Olympic medal ceremony. You have a gold, a silver, and a bronze to give away. And you have to give it to the people in this story that piss you off the most. Now, you just did a very long rant about the actual boxer who was punched in the face. And the people I would give as potential medal winners are her, the person who was punched in the face, the person who punched her in the face, and the people who sanctioned the event that allowed him to punch her in the face. If you're doing a gold, silver, bronze, as most pissed off, who are you giving it to?
In that order reversed. Gold to the sanctioning people, to him and then her.
So
okay?
gold
but you're
to
leaving out the real gold.
Oh, who's the real gold?
The real gold goes to everybody who's just sitting here quietly. It really goes to this. None of this would have happened if they would have started this bull crap and we all would have went, no, let's follow science. I can define a woman and you can too. If we all would have stood up and we wouldn't have cowered, or we wouldn't have been so afraid of being canceled, or I don't want to be unkind. You're not unkind. When was the last time you beat up a transgender person? Okay? I don't know anybody who's done that. I don't know anybody who has done anything other than, look, that guy's in a dress. Okay, dude, whatever. Okay? That's as hateful as I've ever heard in my lifetime. But because transgendered people are being killed in the hundreds of thousands in your own neighborhood because of what you have never said before, you better tell me she's a good-looking woman, okay? She's a good, say it, she's a good-looking woman. No, I'm not going to. But we all played this game.
Well, we all is way too broad for that. I am not accepting that responsibility. There wasn't one day that I or you or probably anybody in this audience played that game. Who played that game? The left played that game. The media played that game. These sports organizations played that game. You never played that game.
No, but did we all fight? And I don't want to unburden us from what has been. But I also don't want to lay too much blame in history because things happen and we were all confused. We were like, what the hell? This is not going to last. This is not going to last. This is craziness. What is this? Okay, so we just didn't act. We would act differently now. If they unveiled this today, they'd act differently now. I think we would. Our pushback really started with Drag Queen Story Hour. When they started bringing it into our children, that's when people stood up and said, okay, all right, enough. But there was enough of a foothold that they had started planting that system was strong. We play these games all the time. Look at who has been voted into office. They say, she wasn't a DEI hire. He said he was going to name a nominee for his vice president who was black. That was his criteria. That's the definition of DEI hires. We can't have we can't have a white woman here or a white man. A one-legged hermaphrodite? She is still white. No, we've got to have a black woman. Black woman. Do I hear black woman? Enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. And the IOC, let me tell you something. If America had sense, if Donald Trump were in office, that woman wouldn't have been punched, because the United States, we still have enough clout when we decide to use it to say, no, we're not playing that. You let men punch women in the face, we're pulling all of our athletes. And it would have never happened